Hello, it's Len from Straight Talk from the Homeland. Welcome back to the channel. Ni hao ma. I'm sorry I don't really speak Chinese, but welcome to all my Chinese friends. These peach trees behind me are our intangible link to China over millennia since they originally came from China. But we have many other links that you can find here, like a caravanserai, which is where the camels used to sit on the Silk Road. We have a medieval bridge as part of the Silk Road. And I'm quite sure that the ancient wines, which were cultivated for over 6,000 years here, were taken to China at some stage in the two-way trade that existed. But today, Chinese people can visit Armenia for up to 90 days without a visa. So, as you can see, you're very welcome here. Today, I'm going to talk about how, as I've said previously, I'm ashamed of the West. I'm ashamed of how we see today the genocide is unfolding in Gaza. But it's not just a recent thing. Of course, we saw the horrors perpetrated by the US in Iraq. And further back in history, we can see what the British did to India, raping it of its resources and using India to grow opium to enslave the Chinese people during the Opium Wars. The US has become what seems to be an authoritarian state with a king, arresting people for peaceful protest against the genocide, all to protect an apartheid colonizing entity called Israel. And now the trade war imposed on the world by Trump threatens to send the world into a recession. And those tariffs, even on the US's allies like Canada and Europe, are going to do nothing but harm, but particularly harsh tariffs on China, which of course the US people themselves will pay, not China. Great empires always fall when they become arrogant and unable to change. So now we are witnessing the decline of the US empire. The US sought to isolate China and Russia, but actually it's isolating itself from the rest of the world because of one destructive man, a person who has, in my opinion, the traits of an antichrist. I mean, what else do we use to describe a demon leading us to a conflict that could engulf the world if he attacks Iran as Israel's pawn? Origins Discovery, it's a basic amateur work that I did, is intended to open the eyes of the ignorant West to the landscapes, the history, the culture, and most importantly, the peoples of Asia and places like Africa. My wife's mother came from Bashkortostan, part of the Russian Federation, truly a verdant land of milk and honey. But all the West knows or thinks is that the only people in Russia are Russians. They don't think about the amazing cultures and peoples within the Russian Federation itself. These people have suffered themselves too, with all this fighting that's occurred in the last few years. The story I wrote is set at a time when Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa were all on the same side, fighting against the evil of the Axis powers. I think it's a great opportunity for the BRICS nations to tell a story based on their people, and not as we see coming from Hollywood all the time, with an American hero coming to save the world. I'll put a link to the story in the description. At a time when the world is on the abyss of what seems to be a horrible conflict, when the West is committing an unforgivable genocide in Palestine on lands stolen by invading non-Semitic Ashkenazi Jews, who are mostly from Eastern Europe and not from the Holy Lands. At a time when Armenians around the world, in a few days on the 24th of April, remember the satanic acts of Turks, Kurds, and Azerbaijanis who murdered more than 1 million Armenians during the Armenian genocide in World War I, but which Australia and New Zealand are shamefully blind to. We need hope. The Origins Discovery Project was written more than a decade ago, before the invasion of Ukraine. But it should be a reminder that we're all from the same common origins, brothers and sisters. We need to stop the fighting, the greed, the power plays, and leave the world a better place for our children. If I could suggest one thing to the Chinese people, please send humanitarian help to Palestine. The West will surely not stop you. And it will show the West's true face today if they resist. Someone needs to do something to stop this madness and bring peace to the world, as I foresaw in my amateur story of alternative history. I'm not going to judge the political systems of China, or I should therefore compare it then to the emerging authoritarian state of US politics. I'm just simply talking about fellow humans looking after each other. And hopefully this message gets through to the good people in China. You can make a difference and help us open up our eyes. Thank you for listening. This is Len from Straight Talk from the Homeland.